I'm Brian V, and this is Why We Work. Today, I have the great pleasure of speaking with Everett Oliver. Everett is a voiceover acting director with over 25 years' experience. He has his own company, and he has worked in animation as well. He's a coach, consultant, and you've seen some of his handiwork in such things as The Simpsons, King of the Hill, Hellboy, Jackie Chan's Adventures, Godzilla, and Men in Black. Today, I want to find out how hard it is to be a voiceover actor, how much work it takes, and what he looks for in finding a voiceover talent. Join me in my conversation with Everett Oliver. I'm Brian V, and this is Why We Work. Today, I have the great pleasure of speaking with Everett Oliver. Good evening, fine sir.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing well. You're killing me.
I, you have no idea what I do with these interviews. I have no idea. I'm learning as I go.
Everett, no, I appreciate in the chat that we were just having, and I mentioned Uncle Roy set us up with a connection. Can you give us a little idea, how this goes? It's just who you are, a little snapshot, and then I'd like to bring you back.
A little snapshot of who I am.
Just snapshot.
I am a voice acting director in the voiceover industry. I coach in the animation and animation commercial industry. Also a career counselor. I also am coaching. I coach auditions, if I can speak. Here we go. We haven't even started. I produce demos, direct demos, I should say. I have workshops. And I travel all over the world to teach, inform, guide, mentor, and run my own company. That's me in a nutshell. And I run my own company going on year 5.
My booth director.
No, that's an old one, former. I am voice acting director. That's what I officially go by. But I was a former booth director at a voice.
The name of your company? What's the name of your company?
Voice acting director.
It is voice acting. Okay, good.
Mm-hmm.
Everett, will you do me a favor? Let's go back. What would have been your first job, maybe as a teenager? I was speaking to some of my last episodes. She was 7 years old, and she was bringing candy to school and selling them to other students in the class.
Okay, I'm having a flashback because I know my cousin does that, and he was like 8, 9, or 10. So we won't put that out there.
What about you? What were you? I mean, that's not a bad idea. Like, what was I doing as a kid? Like, I was missing some great opportunities, I think. The very first thing, maybe it was volunteer, maybe you made $1, maybe you didn't.
The only right now that comes to mind, which is going to be a laugh, is I worked at McDonald's.
Nice. No, as I said to you, you're number 80, and I think probably 10 people have worked at McDonald's. That or another 20 or 30 did Paperboy, like Paperboy, actually one Paper Girl.
Oh,
so okay. How old were you when you worked at McDonald's?
I was 14, 15, 16.
Why did you do it? Why did you get out? Why did you get that job?
Because I had to, because of the parents. I had to do it. It was like, you might as well, join the workforce. It was something to do on Fridays. I worked Friday nights and Saturday nights. This was to also help pay for college, that I was leaving for college. No.
So at 15, you're thinking about college already. That's part of why you were working, getting some of the stuff you wanted, having to save up for college. Did you work at all before college, after McDonald's, or did you keep that job all the way through?
I kept that job up until I think I was there for like 2.5 to 3 years.
That's pretty good.
And then I left. It was time to go. I did a lot.
That's a good stint at McDonald's for 3 years.
Yes.
Although I mentioned I went back to my hometown in Canada and this past year because my mom happened to be sick, and I went through the McDonald's drive-through, and there was the lady at the drive-through, and I was like, oh, I remember you in 1980 something doing the same thing. And she said, yes, dear. I go, you must have been here for, I didn't want to age her. I go,
You did. You wanted
Several
to.
years. And she goes, can you guess? And I said,
23.
must have been 30 years. She said, no, dear. I and a few other employees here been here since it opened, almost 40 years at McDonald's.
Wow.
And I'm like,
Wow.
no offense to her, but it looked like it, right? Like she was I mean, McDonald's isn't the healthiest. If you work there for 40, you're gonna eat it. But I was like, thank you. I even said thank you for your service, right? Because she's
It
been
does say,
there.
if you look at the arch, it does say serve.
It
Serve
does.
up.
They've served. I remember I used to watch that number, like how many do they serve at McDonald's now? And then now they're just off the map. So what were you thinking for going into college, as you mentioned? What was your drive, or what was maybe a passion, or maybe just someone told you what you might want to do?
It was more or less, well, I come from a background of education. So there was no choice. I had no choice to,
Get a job, go to
get a
school.
job, go to school. That was the deal. I was like, oh, okay. And I grew
You
up,
didn't have any part of the
I
deal.
didn't have any, yeah, I didn't have a deal. So, and I grew up in New York. So that was just the thing that the kids did. As teenagers, they had to find some sort of, they either worked at McDonald's or Burger King, just little odd jobs. There was no like working at a grocery store. That's just not what we did in the city.
Mm-hmm.
Or we worked in like, offices. I also did work, now that I think about it, I worked for the Rockefellers as a mail carrier,
Okay.
believe it or not.
Is this in high school?
Um, Oh, I'm seeing my hair stand up.
All right. As you
I
think about
don't
that,
think it was high school. I don't
what
think it was high school.
what did you take in college? What was
I studied mass communication. My degree is mass communications with a concentration in radio, television, and film. It's a Bachelor of Arts.
And so while it wasn't your deal to go to school, you were pushed that way. Why did you pick mass communications?
Because I was an avid soap opera watcher.
Anyone's
and
in
I
particular?
You really gonna ask me
Yeah.
that?
Well, I know what Days of Our Lives. I mean,
I watched that at one time. That was probably in high school.
yeah,
I watched The Young and the Restless.
yeah.
I watched Another World. I watched Days of Our Lives at one time. Then Bold and the Beautiful as I got older. General Hospital when I was in 8th grade. The Edge of Night when I was in 8th grade.
ER.
Dallas.
You said General Hospital. General Hospital. Yeah, that was
General
around the time.
Hospital.
Yeah, that
It
was
was
good.
The Edge of Night. You're probably a little bit too young to know that one.
Well, no, I think I watched General Hospital. So when you're looking at it, you're watching it, and leap into a career, or at least college in mass communications, what were you
Right.
thinking as you watched it? You wanted to be an actor? You like to find out
I
behind the scenes stuff? How did
I
you
think the thing was I was sitting in the dorm watching the soap operas, and then a light bulb hit me. This is what I want to major in, and this is what I want to do. I didn't know what, my personality is high energy and fun. And so I'm always the jokester in the family. So everybody thought that I was going to do stuff on camera.
Mhm.
I'm kind of a little shy. A lot of people don't know that. I get tongue tied in front of the camera, blah, blah, blah. But I knew that I would work behind the scenes
Okay.
and, see how that worked out and then go from there.
So as you were in college and taking mass communications, were you finding this was fulfilling that idea? Were you a little disappointed, or was it pushing you directly where you want to go?
I kind of liked, when I was in school, I kind of liked the behind the scenes. It was kind of cool to just watch shows. I actually was a producer of a show. It was kind of like a talk show that we had called Center Square, and that was something that we had to put together. I believe it was like every week,
That's a
and
good
so
name,
I had,
Center
yeah,
Square. That's a good
it
name.
takes, one of my former college buddies had passed away, started the show, and so after he had graduated from school, we took over the show, and so it just had themes. I went to an African American university in Atlanta, Georgia. So we just took on themes of whatever college issues that were happening at that time. And so we just went ahead and, brought people in from the community, and basically like a regular talk show like Donahue, Sally Jesse, because I also was an intern for Sally Jesse Raphael too, and I was in college.
How was that transition from your family, which seemingly was close, to nurture you in the idea of education and
Mm-hmm.
work, but you
Mm-hmm.
went from New York down to Atlanta, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
into
Mm-hmm.
Georgia. How was
Yes,
that to go and the decision to move, or are you just gearing to get out in a way?
let's just say this. I was independent at the age of 9.
You were
And
ready to go.
everyone, I'm done. I'm out. I'm a born. I was born and raised in New York,
Yeah.
and I still have that New York feisty toughness. Go 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 go.
Hmm.
And when it was time to go to Georgia, it was okay. You're going to the South. You're going to learn the South, and you're going to just figure it out. And so that's what my parents were advocate of. Go, just go.
How
And I
did
was
you
like,
feel when
okay.
you got there? The difference between, and I'm
Um,
kind of from your north, which is Nova Scotia, Canada, which is kind of like
mhm,
in New York, maybe not as feisty, but I
mm,
have aspirations of getting down south, and it just seems like a totally different atmosphere. How was it
mhm.
for you as you got there?
A very small country town,
Hmm.
very relaxed pace, very friendly. Um, I went to a black college, so that was kind of a little bit new and different for me
Hmm.
because I grew up in a city of a melting pot of everybody.
Yeah.
So going to a black college was like, oh, okay, we're gonna have to figure out how this works out. And there's a certain uh, class, that I would say. So it was kind of like middle income, upper middle, upper level
Yeah.
students going to these because I went to one of the prestigious schools in the South. So, and there's a mixture of all four: Morehouse College, Spelman College, Clark Atlanta University, and Morris Brown, which made up as one big university. So you could take classes all over at every institution.
So as you were finishing up your college and your experience
Mhm.
there, what was seemingly at the end of your diving board to jump into the workforce?
Um, it was time to move to. Well, I was after I graduated. It was a point of what are you going to do for 2 years? So I stayed in Atlanta for 2 years, and I knew that my friends in college all moved to California. And at the age of 8, I remember having a conversation with my great grandmother, I think my great aunts, that I told them that I was moving to California when I
Moving
was
to
8.
California.
So
Yeah.
in 1994,
Hmm.
it was just like, oh, okay, now it's just time to just make that transition from Atlanta to Los Angeles.
So were you hesitant for the 2 years?
Oh no,
What was pulling
I
you
was just
back?
trying to figure it out, trying to
Yeah.
figure out how I'm going to get there. You know,
With
you
the
know,
proper steps, like
hmm
with a
hmm
plan rather than the physical ability to get there. You wanted a good plan.
in my family, you should have a good plan.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're
You
going
got
to
to
get
tell them about it too. So
it.
it's like,
Well, it's so interesting because I don't create a plan. It
hmm
just winds up just falling into place. I'm one
hmm
of those type of people that I just, what, if it's going well,
hmm
just let it go and let the universe or whatever you believe in, let it all fall into place.
So what did you pull the trigger on?
Um, I just had to experiment. I had to see if it was right, if
Yeah.
California was right for me. So I just came out here for 10 days, um, fooled around, looked around for different sites to
Yeah.
just kind of see, check out what California was about. Wind up staying longer than 10 days. Had a rent a car that I kept longer than 10 days. Got pulled over in Beverly Hills with all my friends in 10 days.
Uh,
It was like, hey, I'm having a good time as the running money is running out and you can't pay for this rent a car, but you are having a good time. Oh yeah, it feels right. It feels right.
Am
It
I
feels right.
pitch in on gas?
It's everybody. They knew. Don't worry, I got this covered. We're good. We're good. We're having good. We was having a good time. They were like, "Wow, you're just loving it." And I'm like, when are you going back? And after I mentioned this story before, after I returned the rent a car
Mhm.
and found out that I just went and said to them, um, here's my credit card. You might as well max me out because I have nothing else,
Mm.
And at the time, my uncle's family members were here with me, and they were basically told me um, the flight leaves at 10:30 back to Atlanta. I
Be on
think
it.
we're gonna, yeah, I think we need to get you on that flight.
You
So I
obviously
literally,
will take you.
right. And I literally remember going into the people I was staying with, the people I went to college, and they saw me packing, and they were literally looking. I'm like, "Where are you going?" I got to get that 10:30 flight back to Atlanta, but I will be back in 30 days. Oh yeah, right. That's the year right feeling
Mhm.
of
But
sure.
that 10 days was enough for you to realize this is where you wanted to be.
Oh, I knew. Oh, I just had it. It's a feeling of you just go for it.
Yeah.
You know.
So did you, in that 10 days, make some connections for the work that you're doing now, or how did you wheel that while you were there? Or to come back, did you have a plan in particular to come back to, or it was just, I'm going to go back, pack my stuff up and be back and then figure it out?
Well, let's just say I will say this: I had a job offer in 3 days.
Nice.
Arriving in Los Angeles. So the time that I was here for the 10 days, I went ahead and I interviewed for a job at Film Roman. And I wore a blue tie. I was the only one basically in California. You never wear a suit when you go on interviews. So when they saw me with a suit, they knew I was from back east and I was about business. I'll say that. So that's probably
It's
how I
good
got
though.
hired, right? For wearing my navy blue suit. It works. So um, I interviewed for a position in the color copy, which basically entails you copying all of the animation designs and keep a list of you keep a list of all the backgrounds, all the characters, all the
Yeah.
props, and they send the artwork over to Korea, the originals, and we keep copies in the event that they lose them. And then that way they can trace and say, oh, we painted this specific background red, and this is the number on the back of the cell sheet that they painted back when they were doing ink and paint.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that for probably about 6 months, maybe 8 months.
So as you're in this color copying position,
Mm-hmm.
are you thinking, I there's these other steps I want to follow? Is this just part of the process of where you wanted to be? How did you feel in those 6 months of where your career was and what you were trying to attain?
Basically, it was I just needed a job. I wasn't thinking about it. I didn't realize what was happening because I was learning the way my personality is that I'm learning the dynamics of the people around me. I'm learning the dynamics of my surroundings, and I'm learning the dynamics of the job. Once I feel comfortable in that job, then I get bored really fast because my brain processes stuff really fast.
Mhm.
Then it was an opening on The Simpsons, and I applied for it right away. Or The Simpsons went ahead and saw that I was a go-getter, and they called me and told me that there was an opening, and then they promoted me to The Simpsons.
Did
Success,
you did you
success.
did you call your uncle and say, I'm all right now?
Good. I'm good. I mean, but having a job before leaving Atlanta was great.
Yeah.
So that way the parents was like, how does this work? I'm like, I'm Everett. Things just fall into place.
And things
So,
have fallen in place for you where you were on things, you did casting calls for
mhm,
Godzilla, Men in Black,
mhm.
Jackie Chan, and a bunch of other things that I'm sure that the list is very long to say. How has your career progressed into the position where you're in now? And maybe some highlights or even some low points as it took you through to where you are now?
Nothing low. Everything has been an experience.
Good.
I used all of my experiences, my knowledge. I absorbed everything like a sponge when I was on the shows. I worked with the animation artists. So it showed me structurally on how an actual animation show is produced. I worked with the voice actors. I saw what they did, and I just tied in with the voice actors what they do to the production of all the artwork, because I've been in different levels and different positions. So being in casting helped, being an executive assistant, because I also worked on King of the Hill. So I got this work on sides with the network as well to figure out how that all plays into it. So I was fortunate enough to just learn everything and just go, this is how the animation world works. Because this wasn't something that I wanted to do. I fell into it. I think my thing was I was so driven into the soaps that I was going to go and probably work on soap operas.
Mm-hmm.
But then the epiphany was it's long hours. It's like being on a set for 16 to 18 hours.
Mm-hmm.
That's like, hey, you might as well give me a couple of lines because we need to move to process this because this is work. So me getting into cartoons, I'm like, oh, okay, this is simple. This is pretty easy. It's not that difficult. And I still have the feeling of being on TV. My name is out there on television. So this propelled me to learning all of aspects. And I kind of sort of teach that to my students just to kind of give them a little bit of knowledge and how this whole process works.
In the process of when you were in college, and you kind of get a taste regardless of what you're taking in college, you don't get the full, but you had your show, so there's a different part of it too. At what point in this experience, and when you're up to King of the Hill or any of the other experiences, did you realize the eye-opening experience of seeing behind the scenes, like a real taste of behind the scenes, and like, wow, this is just what I've been looking for? And how was that experience for you?
I think I just, for me, I move so fast. I don't have a oh wow moment. I just do it.
Okay.
I think because I have the drive to just keep moving forward. And I get really, doing the same stuff over and over again,
Bored.
kind of, right, drives me insane. So I need new challenges and I need new experiences to keep me activated and to keep me motivated. So very rarely as I have a aha moment. And the only moment that I can probably think of
Mm-hmm.
is working with the actors when I was a booth director. So I worked at a talent agency when I was in my late 40s. We keep that very hush hush.
Late
So,
40s. I didn't even think you were in your 40s.
oh, bless your soul. I'm a little older, but that's okay. So usually people, when you're going to work at a talent agency, you would probably be in your 20s.
Mm.
And I was always kind of a late bloomer anyway, so it didn't, bother me. But it was the epiphany of working at a talent agency. Now, remember, I had worked in casting. So I was familiar with trying to get the actors the jobs. But the epiphany is like, oh, there's some actors who are so hungry for animation that I would look at them and go, you've not booked an animated series? They're like, no. But you could see they're like hungry eyes. They're like, oh, there are a lot of people who are really hungry to get into the animation world. And that to me was just kind of like, oh, it's just a cartoon. It's not that serious. I wrote a term paper about Bart Simpson.
Well, it's funny you say that. I would think now animation has become so big
Now,
but there a time where actors were like, animation, that's beneath me? Was there
right.
a point for that for actors?
I'm sure there were. That was probably before my time. Um, when I really was in it with the casting, the animations just started like blowing up.
Mm-hmm.
So working on Godzilla, we had like 40 episodes. We recorded 22 episodes per week for maybe it was maybe about 10 months or to a year. And then everything just started expanding. You know, when Sony, because I also worked at Sony, when Sony had their blockbuster movies, we did an animated series.
Mm.
So you could just see the level of Men in Black went for, I believe, 3 or 4 seasons. I work on oh God, Starship Troopers. I believe that went for, oh, they're gonna kill me. 40 episodes. They're gonna kill me because I can't remember this. And this stuff is looking in my face. I'm like, oh, okay.
But there's a lot of work in the work that you've chosen, right? There's
Mhm.
opposed to being the actor himself or herself who's looking for that work and needing that position. You're in a really good position to be able to help all of them, and to
Mhm.
be able to direct voiceovers as well.
Right. For me, it's a process of me um, knowing who you are, where you've been, to
Mhm.
get a little bit of background, for me to go ahead and to mentor you, guide you, and then direct you to how can I make this work. I mean, I've done a lot of stuff. I mean,
That
it's
was gonna
a
be that
lot
was
of
gonna
work.
be my question, Everett, of what do you look for in a talent, and is it really they have all the skills coming and you're just kind of showing them around, or is it you're looking for something in particular, especially in the casting, but also helping in mentoring as well? What sort of
I
skills and talents are you looking for?
I'm looking for their improv skills and who they are. I'm really looking to go through. It's like for me, I could transcend myself into them,
Mhm.
and I can figure out how they tick. So I want to know, what do you bring to the table? Once I find out what they bring, besides them worrying about their voice, then I can say, that's it. That's what I look for. They got to be able to just play. That's the other thing I look for. I think that they're that's why I can hear my friend in my ear saying they're overthinking. They want the job. They want to book the job. But I think that the issue is when they get the job, they're gonna freeze out because they're so fascinated with seeing all the celebrities
Mhm.
who've done it for years that they're gonna choke. And that's not a good thing. So that's what I really look for. And then I'm also one that will bring, as quiet as it's kept, to talent. I do to talent agencies. I will call an agent and say, hey, this is somebody who I think you might want to take a look at. And then I'll go ahead and submit, reels to them. So
I can't imagine.
personality, it's about personality. That's the other thing too. Your personality has to fit. We all don't fit well with everyone. You also have to have this great dynamic personality.
You touched on something. As I said, Uncle Roy and I were speaking about, and he's like, "Yeah, people fall in love with their voice, right? Like, oh yeah, someone told you that you have a good voice, or they love your voice." And then the point was, throw that idea out there, be willing to work. What about the process itself? I think of, and doing an introduction to this just now, and the
Mm-hmm.
same thing happened with Uncle Roy, Roy Yokelson, is when I
Who's that? What's
the tool. And when I was doing the introduction for you, I'm like, oh no, he's a voiceover director. So I was like, yes, this is Brian in the very beginning, like just to introduce you. And I was thinking and thinking and thinking. I started
John?
laughing and trying to figure it out. And it reminds me of a couple of movies. One of Elvis, of like just the repetition. And what was the other one? La Bamba, Richie Vallis, Richie La Bamba guy. La
Richie
la la la.
Roger?
Richie la
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 la la
la.
la Bamba.
Oh, you're
Who?
really gonna ask me questions now.
But no, in the movie
That'll hit me.
it was like they loved the music, but then they had to record, and it was over and and doing it over and over. If
Not
you
over
haven't
again.
seen it in a while, but La
I haven't
Bamba, the
seen it.
movie was La Bamba. Richie Valens, I think.
Yes,
And
you're
the
right.
the hard work that went into that just to record something well, and you first go in with a passion.
Mm-hmm.
Some people are overthinking things, but the passion, the desire to do a good job, but the hard work that goes, take one. take two. And I seen you in an interview, and it's like you had to get people ready for, in particular, my booth director in your position there of 2 takes off to the next one.
Oh yeah,
Right.
you have to be prepared. Oh yeah, you have to. When you're represented at a talent agency, they treat that as a professional. So you have to be in there 2 takes and you out. The agents would tell me I'd keep in there a little longer because some of them they'd be intimidated by me, but that's just me. But you have to bring your A game, because when you go and you book a job, they move. They have 4 hours. Sometimes we have a celebrity who can't stay for the 4 hours. So they need you to be on your game, ready to go, because time is money. No one's fooling around. No one is, waiting, coming in late. You have to be really seriously on your A game. So I'm tough because, from back east, but I try to prepare you to be like, hey, this is the real world. This is, forget the money. This is about you. How well can you handle being on an animated series? Because other than that, they'll drop you. And I've seen that. And I've heard that. If you're not on your A game, there's somebody else that we could replace you.
It's a tough game.
It's a tough game. And you have to be up, you have to be original, you have to be fresh. You got to be able to think outside the box. Sometimes if they like it, they're like, hey, we never even thought about that. We'll keep that and add that in. So, you should be constantly upgrading your skills. I don't care. And I even though I work with my actors and I'm tough like that, but I want them to prepare them for what's about to happen, because things change on the slide too,
Everett, how did you transition into your own company now? And in your own company, what is the process that you go through and say on a weekly basis?
God. So how did I transfer? I was sneaky. I'm not going to lie.
You're all coming with me.
Oh yeah, the actors told me, and some of the actors told me at my agency, you can do this by yourself. They really pushed me.
Why are you working under someone else? Yeah.
Right. You have the drive, you have the personality. I will say this, that I haven't shared this with anybody. I got most likely to succeed when I was in the 8th grade.
Just kept that in your back pocket.
I just had
down to Georgia.
Right. I was like, oh, okay, I can do this. So once they pushed me, I was one that, let's just go for it. What do we have to lose? We'll figure it out. And so my plan, to think of, well, voice actors don't have any money, but you can travel to them and see the United States. I saw the United States when I was a kid. I used to, travel by car. Family used to travel with me by car all the time. But this was just the opportunity for me. Some places I hadn't been to, like Toronto. Hadn't been to Toronto before. Nashville was fun. Hadn't been to Dallas at all. I don't remember being in Dallas as a kid. So that was just a plan that just kind of fell into it. Like, hey, I kind of like this traveling. I'm kind of getting myself out there. I'm kind of learning the different regions, because everyone sounds differently according to them in the United States. And I'm picking all of it up. So I was soaking stuff as a sponge.
So were you going to their homes, or were you going to other agencies there and meeting up?
Studios. So I would, some of the actors would reach out to me and said, hey, I heard you're coming to whatever city. And I would say, yeah, I'm coming. Can you recommend any studios? They would set it all up for me. And so we'll put the flyers out, and then everyone would come. I probably have no more than, 12 to 15 students. Sometimes I would stay for 2 days, teach them, let's see how you get into character. See how quick, Let me see what you bring to this character. Let me teach you what the process of a callback. I got a lot of actors who don't understand. I shouldn't say, well, not even not understand, but don't know the process of what happens during the callback.
Did you know then, or did you realize, or did you experience that Everett Oliver's name coming out of California to meet with such and such has weight? Did you start to see a snowball effect of that, where you're like, there's some people coming to meet me, a little bit surprised,
I
but
I
also that's right,
I
you're coming
I
to see all.
did
Yeah.
I did because I'm based in Los Angeles and my home is New York. So when I would travel back east, it was somebody who was in the industry who knows the business, but who comes from the heart and tells the truth.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I know. And then my name started just growing. And then going through social media, and I'm like, oh, okay. But I didn't take it, I really didn't take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Seriously. And the reason why I share that with you is my aunt and uncle ran a print store. So they were entrepreneurs themselves.
Yeah.
And so every week I'm calling them and they would tell me, don't make this no hobby. You know you can make this a full successful career out of it. And then that branded into me expanding more. And I'm very, as one of my actors will say to me, I'm very humble. I don't share a lot of stuff because to me, it's not a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
When I worked in television for The Simpsons and I worked in King of the Hill, my name appeared on the credits for all the Saturday mornings in casting. And I remember my cousin woke me up on a Saturday morning at 10 o'clock.
What do you want?
I hadn't talked to her. She passed now, but I hadn't talked to her in years. And just because she saw my name flash on TV. And my attitude was, and what's your point?
I need to go back to sleep.
I'm trying to, I've been working 60 hours and you waking me up about, great. So,
Girl.
right, exactly. I'm like, and the look, I give looks. So, but for me, it's like, oh, okay, it's no big deal. And I do that to this day. When people, I think I was at a conference once and I heard my name, people whisper, oh my God, that's her. And then I just woke up to her, hi, how are you? Love doing that. I just love doing it. And they're just like, oh my God, you're out of control. I'm just having fun. I'm not that important. So
You're important. What is the process you take people through, or what does your week look like nowadays? I don't know if COVID has kind of changed things for you, or maybe it's good. I mean, animation might be picking up because it might be easier for them to film.
Well, it's a mixture of everything. I get a mixture of career counseling. People wanted to do a couple of sessions on the process of getting into character. How do they get, to animation? What do they need? Bookkeeping, demos, setting up group classes. I could see my friend looking at me like, Everett, you know this, and I'm like, processing slow. Setting up group classes, setting up guests. I have like some agents that come and speak at my classes. So, because I like to put exposure to the students to let them know these are professional people who I network with that you need to get under their radar. Yeah. So that's what I do. So this is what I do like 5 days a week.
What are you specifically coaching people to do? Is this getting on a demo? Is this how to?
Some are demos, some are a lot of auditions.
Yeah.
I coach a lot of people on auditions, especially for, I work with kids as well. So a lot of, there's been a huge massive push on animated shows that are being developed. Mm-hmm. That happened recently, even with COVID. So I would probably say about probably June or July we've been getting a lot of auditions, and the auditions have been coming in, and I would say about maybe 4 or 5 projects a week. And so it's a fast turnaround. So it's just been a whirlwind of, auditions, setting up classes. Hey, you got time for a demo? Got to check. Working, preparing actors for demos, sending actors to different coaches. I'm a giver. I'm like, listen, you need to go speak to this person because this person needs to get you to where you need to go. So that's kind of like my whole week.
Scheduling.
And
do you have some advice for people who would come to you at first, or even before they come to you, thinking about getting into acting, their voice acting in particular, or even thinking back to you when you first got your first job in, say, McDonald's or doing something else on the side? Advice getting, just working, the idea of work and being productive, as your mom said or your parents said, work is good, right? And it's something you have to do. So do you have some advice for people just getting into work or getting into your industry in particular?
Strong backbone. I don't know why that came to me. You have to have a strong backbone for rejection. Yeah. You have to keep it moving. You need to be, if you want to succeed, you got to keep pushing and knocking down doors. Don't go, and I just said this to somebody, there's a front door and a back door, but there's always the 2 side doors. You need to be able to push those doors through. I just said it to somebody right before I said to you, you need to be networking. Besides having your specific training, you got to put yourself out there. Nobody is sitting at home waiting for Brian to pick up the phone and call them. Trust me, they are not doing that.
I agree.
So it's find a mentor. Find somebody who has a strong will and a desire to succeed. None of this, and who's also truthful, especially in our industry. You got to find somebody who's going to really support you to bring you to that next level. I've been fortunate enough that I found people. I just find people, and then I'm like, you don't know this, but you're my mentor.
Put the tag on his back.
Yeah, it's right. And because I have a business mentor. I have a creative mentor. I have different mentors for different things. So it's a matter of me, reaching out and saying, let me run this idea, by you. So, and going back to the actors, they have to be willing and able. And I will say this, it takes time. I don't know what you're rushing for, unless you plan on leaving the planet in the next, 5 years. Actors are all like, I get you being hungry, but it gets to a point where you can see people that's like constantly, and I'm like, settle. I need you to settle down. Because there's one thing of being a go-getter, and there's another thing of being
a pain,
hyper and a pain. And you will get cut. I'm saying it nicely. You will get cut.
How do you stay productive, Everett? I mean, you're busy. I think this year has kind of thrown a wrench in some things for people, but maybe what's your motivation to work now that you've had some experience with work, you're in this industry, what gets your feet on the ground and saying, okay, here goes another day?
I love, even though I tell people drive me insane, I'm a people person. I'm here I feel like I found my calling of what I'm supposed to do and how to get people to where they need to be. So I get up in the morning, drink my little water, I do some meditation. You have no idea. And I'm like, okay. And then the emails, I go through my daily email checks. And I also do something that probably no other coach, I will speak just for me, does. I check up on people. I get on social media. Yeah. I get on social media. I see them. I drop them, hey, how are you? It frightens them for some planet or reason, as if they think that they owe me money or they've done something wrong, which is hilarious. But it's me doing a daily check on and saying, oh, I just seeing if you're okay. if my ears, I'm a great listener. I've been told that. And so that's why I'm good at, at what I do. And, once I, like I said, tap into them, then I can go ahead and just move them, get them in the right direction. Because everybody needs some guidance. Everybody needs some sort of structure.
Yeah.
And I don't think people take advantage of that. I think they just dive into something and they're not sure where they're going to end up and they get lost. And I feel like it's my plan or my, vision to get them back on track and get them in the right direction.
Do you find that you need that as well from others? I mean, besides mentors in particular, do you long for that too, to make sure people check in on you, to make sure you're staying motivated?
As long as they're not consistently harassing me and I call it harassing. I do say harassing. Let's be clear. I want to be clear. It's called harassing. Sending me email after email after email. Me, like every 2 or 3 days. I'm like, okay, settle. Settle. You can send me an email once a month and I'll process it. And I go, okay, they're doing well. And I do respond to emails, So it's like I said, you have to be organized. You have to stay on point. And if you want to succeed,
The entertainment industry, I think, is known as a busy industry, especially if you're on the other side of the camera or the microphone. How do you turn off your work and make what people say balance or work-life choices in check so that you're able to have you time? I mean, you mentioned meditation in the morning, but you're also jumping onto email as well and checking out other people. It's not really turning it off completely. Are you able to do that, or do you want to do that?
For me, it's travel, the traveling aspect of it. I get like San Francisco. So I travel to San Francisco about once a year. I've been doing that for about 7 years straight. Short trips work for me. I can go to somewhere for 5 days and that will recharge me. Even if I'm working, I'm being in a new surrounding. So that definitely enlightens me. I go back east for about a month. That recharges me. Seeing family members takes me away because they know my personality, the laughter and the humor. Seeing friends in Seattle, that will recharge me. Friends and family in Seattle, that would recharge me. So as long as I'm able to travel, I'm good. If I have to stay put, and it's been hard because of COVID, I will say that.
Ever thinking back, maybe people have given you advice in the past, but knowing myself, not mature enough to receive it, kind of going through my teenage years with my hands over my ears, or maybe a mistake that you made, either or, something you didn't listen to, or a mistake that you made that you learned from that you can pass on to other people. Is there anything like that in your life?
I don't look at mistakes as, I can't think of any mistakes that I've done.
Yeah.
Because I use them as experiences.
Yeah.
But my great-grandmother once told me, don't take any wooden nickels. And that means be careful who you trust. I will share that. Never publicly. I've never, do not take any wooden nickels. I will share that with you. I've never shared that with anybody. It's great. And the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of people who are naive. There's a lot of people out there in the industry who will take from you because people are hungry.
What is the reason why you think people are so selfish and taking in the industry? Are they getting lost in their dream? Or are they were that way their whole life and this is just one way to manifest it?
I think it's a money issue. I think it's a money issue. I think people are caught up. I think, I'll say it, we're Americans are caught up with money. Fast paced, go, 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 go. Different countries are not like that. I will say, now I have traveled, I can only speak for myself, I've traveled to Australia. I've been to Australia and I have been to Canada. I don't feel, at least for I could speak for at least for the Aussies, that they're so money driven. They like to play, have fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I haven't been in Canada enough. I've been on the eastern side of Canada. I haven't been on the western side of Canada. And I haven't been to Europe yet. That's something that I would love to, explore. And I haven't been to, haven't really been to Mexico or South America. But we as a country, that's what we do. We just take.
Sorry, you go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Do you speak to your students about their character in this career? Do you coach them in integrity and honesty? Do you do that, or you kind of just lead by example, or do you just leave that off the table and just stick specifically to the job at hand?
For me, they can just look at me and tell. I don't really have to teach it. They know. I've had coaches say to me as well that I speak my truth. I speak from the heart. So actors know that they have to come from that place in order for that character to pop and to get, to get that audition. That's pretty much what they're auditioning for.
As these students come to you and thinking of education where you went for mass communications, are you encouraging students to get more education, or is it more experience? What is the maybe proper balance of people that you see coming to you, or is it a variety of things?
I really encourage people to get education from a perspective of they need to take more acting classes, and they need to take really the most important is improv. That's the most important thing.
How will they get that experience? Is it improv classes? Is it
improv classes? I direct them to an actor who I know, but they need to be. I think everyone is just so in one box, and they don't know how to think outside of it. Or they don't get to it. Thank you. Talking to me. They don't get to it quicker.
They have one skill. They have a small skill set. Not enough tools in the toolbox.
Not enough toolbox. And I just taught a class. I just literally taught a class about finding your toolbox. So, and then we're working on part 2. So, yeah. And I think that's what it is. I think they're so hungry about, they want to be that character that their brain is just on an overload. It's like, thank you. It's like being on a, was it a squirrel going around and around, or I can't even, or a hamster going around and around in a circle. Right.
So stuck on that, they lose focus of what's important. Right. So the education in that, by getting more experience with some improv classes or some even voiceover work classes.
Voiceover work, right. Or, workout groups, or, singing lessons. I don't know why singing came to me too, to put your vocal placements, with your diaphragm. So it's that.
Is comedy a part of this getting people to get up and stage, and maybe however dry or not their comedic ability is, to get up there? And because it's a very revealing, vulnerable position to put yourself on stage and try to entertain people. Is that something that not only helpful, you would encourage?
So yes, comedy is a major thing that they're looking for on the West Coast when it comes to the animation. That's like the number one priority. They want to hear how funny you are. There's many funny animated shows that are out there. So they have to be.
What a hard gig. Make me laugh.
Well, I mean, you have to treat your audition as a mini performance. I listen, when I worked at the agency and I was having that mood day, the actors would come in and they go, and that's what I would say to them. You need to make me laugh. And I'm tough. I will say, you got to be doing something really off the wall to really make me, laugh at you. I'm a tough critic and everybody knows it, but that's what we do. That's their job. They have to be able to do that.
Everett, in what you do you have a goal, an overarching plan, a mission for your company and what you're doing in your work?
Oh, I do, but why should I? I'm not going to share that. And
I
the
won't
reason
tell.
why,
I won't
and the
tell.
reason why I'm not going to share it is because you're not supposed to let everybody know your plan.
I'm not everyone.
Oh, I know that. I can share it with you,
You
but
keep
everybody
it.
who's going to watch this.
Do you have a small plan that you can share? For the idea, the purpose of this too is not to get your secrets and your goals, is to show the importance to listeners that goals are helpful and important and help you set a pace for your journey with work.
I do. I do, and I don't want to share too
Are you
much.
tempted? Are you tempted to tell me?
I don't want to share
No.
too much.
Yeah, yeah.
But I am rebranding. I'll leave it as that. I'm
Okay.
rebranding. This is something I'm expanding.
Yeah.
Is so for me, I just do it.
Mhm.
I don't really
Set
it
those.
set it just it's like a feeling of it's time
Mhm.
to move to the next level. And that just happens for me. I'm very in tune with myself and my body. And it's a thing of, I know it's like, it's time to do something else.
Speaking of being in tune with yourself, Everett, is there something about you that people don't quite understand, or the work that you're doing, that if you let them know this, that they'll have a better appreciation of you, or you're an open book and everyone knows?
I'm kind of intuitive. I shouldn't shy away from that, but that's just a
Yeah,
gift.
yeah.
I have my friend, my really good friend, is laughing because he's in my ear right now. He calls me a ghost whisperer. So when I sometimes say the word thank you, that means I'm hearing people talk to me.
Well, it's good too, because then people
Yeah.
can trust you, because you're in that position for all of these students, these actors that come to you, and to know
Mm-hmm.
that you're intuitive and that you have their best interests at heart,
Right.
and that you
Mm-hmm.
have this experience to back it up, and that you
Mm-hmm.
want them to succeed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, they can feel me and they can tell. I mean, I might do some things that are some antics or but it's just guides. I'll
Yeah,
use those words. It's
yeah.
just guides telling me what they need to hear. I'm clairvoyant. I don't know what to say. And I was born this way. It wasn't something that I practice. Um, I just kind of sort of just know. I can't really explain it. And then I use it. I do use it. In fact, I just told a coach the other day, I use it in my teaching. People are pretty shocked and surprised that I know about, um, their grandmothers or they're
Mhm.
like, how do you know that? Oh, a friend told me. And I have to go easy on it. And what that means is I don't want to frighten them because I don't know what your beliefs
Mhm.
are. So I have to go a certain kind of way and it's so funny because I was in Seattle and it was I had 15 students. It was first time I was there, and literally everyone was talking to me the whole entire day as I was teaching the students. It was an experience that had never hit me before
Mhm.
in that full capacity. As each person went to read, as I was directing them, I could literally hear people talking to me, telling me, tell them this, tell them that. And people were validating, how the hell do you know this? Just go with it. Just go with it. Yeah.
In telling people what they need to know, do you
Mhm.
have, I mean, the idea of adversity, and people are going through some difficult times now through their lives, and I think you will probably put a more positive, optimistic twist on adversity in one's life and not using it to hold you back, to set you back. But have you have experienced adversity to the point where you're able to use that in your work to give you drive, but also something to encourage other people with the adversity that they face?
Probably have. Um, I can't think of an example. I mean, I do a lot of career counseling.
Yeah.
So when I'm talking to them, it just, once they're comfortable, I just tell them whatever I need to tell them. You follow me?
Mm-hmm.
It's a mixture of both, what's happening in their career, what they should do, and what they should pursue. Because I'll give you an example, I think, if this is a good example. This is the only thing that's coming to me. So a girl walks into one of my classes, and she was talking, and I said, you need to do kids. As soon as she opened up her mouth, you need to do kids. And so, you could just tell she was trying to do anything other than kids.
Mm-hmm. She was on
And
that hamster wheel going around, whatever that other thing is.
Right. So I forgot about her. Totally forgot about her. 5-6 years later, she ran into me. I go into an event and see her at the corner of my eye, dodging at me, but I don't remember her. So she says to me, you don't remember me, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, no, but you look familiar. Oh, well, you told me that I was working with kids, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, now I remember you, because she started speaking and it just hit me.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm at a big agency and I'm doing kids. Fast forward 7 years later, we were on a conference. I was just talking about her. I didn't remember her name, but I remember what she looked like, kind of, sort of. She pops up on the screen and I'm shying away because I'm like, oh, God, just going to be one of those. And she's just going to just talk about me. And I'm like, oh, just stop talking to me. She's like, no, Everett, we were in the same class. You taught me and told me about kids. I was like, oh, your hairstyle was different. Oh, yeah, I know who you are. But I didn't put the correlation of putting her name together. But the point is that I said something to her years ago and it just came into fruition.
Thinking of, however, in whatever people face, do you give them specific advice if they're going through a difficult time? Like, or do you say,
Probably, yeah.
Is there?
I probably do. Yeah, I give them. It's just a natural gift I have, so I do that. Mm-hmm. And then it comes out
Specifically for the occasion, specifically for that person at that moment.
Yeah. Uh-huh. I did that the other day with just somebody. I gave them 7 Christmas gifts. So yeah, it was just at the penny, and it was just like the setup, just having, a cup of coffee, and it was just natural. So it's a natural thing for me, to natural tell what happens, because I hear things. And I also see stuff and I go, you're not right for animation. Just want to let you know. You have to do it very gently, Brian. It's a very gently thing, because people have hurt feelings.
Yeah. People are sensitive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Why do you say that now? You don't hear me doing a cartoon? Not really. But things could change in 2 years if you do this, this, and this. Mm-hmm. 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 So, yeah.
Do you direct people off the path completely, or do you give them more advice to try these out, to hope to get into it, on the hopes of building the skills? Or will you be blunt enough to say it's really not for you? You might just want to pack your bags.
Well, let's see, how should I put this? I'm blunt in a much more smile kind of way. Yeah. Because like I said before, you have to really go easy, because these are people's dreams.
Yep, absolutely.
But they do need a reality check. So I am not one to stare. I would say right now, I don't hear you doing this. But you'd be great for video games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You'd be, animation is just not your thing. So
you have a wide variety to work with too, so you can direct them down many other paths. Which
oh, absolutely. I have told actors, e-learning, audiobooks. There's characters and there's characters all, you know. I'm trying to think of the other one. I can't think of the other one right now.
It's a big industry. It's high demand.
Mhm.
There's lots of choice. There's lots of options for people to get into with their voice and acting.
I mean, it's a relative. I mean, people have been doing it. Don LaFontaine has been doing it. You know, he was doing it for years. He's like, you know, the beginning. So this industry has really just grown to what it is now. I never thought I would be in it. I'm still learning and growing. You know, I don't know everything. But I think if you're persistent enough, if it's just not animation, there is some sort of other voiceover work that you can do. You know, so it's just a matter of finding what your niche is, homing in that niche, and propelling to the, you know, the level that you can be. You've got to make this fun. If this is not fun, don't do it. Don't do it. You're not having fun, go do something else. You know, I see a lot of people get stressed out. Oh, excuse me. Oh, my health insurance. I gotta pay my health insurance. I gotta book a job. Oh my God. You're not gonna book. You want me to tell you, you know what I tell you when you book? You book when you're sick as a dog. That's when you book, because you don't care. You know, one of my former clients, she had a baby. She's booking more that she had a baby than ever. She was like, "Tal, I just go in there and just read it, and I do my thing, and I'm changing my baby's diaper, and I book." You know, that's when you book. You know,
Yeah.
or you have the opportunity to, you know, at least meet and know your casting director, and they just, you know, remember you. You know, but you know, it's like rolling the dice. Auditions are really, it's like really going to Vegas and just rolling the dice. You don't know.
Yeah.
You know, but you gotta, you know, be persistent. If this is something that you know and you passionate and it comes from a place of the heart, you'll know. You'll know.
The more you play, the more chance you have to win.
Well, yeah,
I guess so.
I don't do lottery, but
Nor do I. Just throw them there. Everett, how can people reach you and with your new company, and you're going to rebrand and all of that, but how can they connect with you?
They could use your name in the subject matter so I know where they're coming from.
Yeah.
EO at voiceactingdirector.com. All one word. So the letter E, my first EO at voiceactingdirector.com.
Perfect. And they could probably find you on LinkedIn if they want as well. And there's lots of videos and interviews about you all over the place. And they can find you on the credits of many of the animation features that are coming out. Everett, I have
don't say features, say TV shows.
TV shows.
They're two different genres. It's like he's not on any feature.
I'm learning. Everett, I have one final question for you, sir. And that is, why do you work?
I love what I do. It has really, being an entrepreneur has really made me as to who I am. I'm still growing. It kind of had that, I kind of had that epiphany when I traveled to Georgia. And the reason why I say that is because I have a cousin that reminds me, you know, you're an entrepreneur, right? Oh, I'm just doing it, you know, going to see, you know, family members. I have supportive friends who remind me and say to me, dude, you're doing it. Just keep going. I've even actually have colleagues of mine who I probably have shocked them by, wow, I've come this far and there's more that I have to do. So that's why I do it. That's why I work. You know, it's fun. I'm having a great time. And I'm doing what I'm supposed to do.
Everett Oliver, Everett Oliver, I see you are a giver. I can see that. And you are a lover of what you do, and you have a great passion. And I'm sure your students appreciate that from you as the voiceover acting director, coach, consultant, and soon to be rebranded man.
You so want to know that. You so want to know.
Well,
and you make it an email.
Everett Oliver, I thank you for your time, and I appreciate you and the work that you do.
Thank you.